I do this every week.
Welcome
Hope you
to
get paid
another
well.
episode of Gettin Salty Experience. Very special question and answer tonight with me, Chief Steve Puppet. As always, I got my partner. Gotta go that way. Ruffy Raffrano, Lieutenant
Chief.
Ruffy.
How are you?
We got Proby Pete up there. And
Shalom.
very, very special guest who needs no introduction. It's the real Chief Steve.
Nice.
Evening, boys. Evening. The puppet's definitely more flexible than me, I'll tell you.
Especially in this heat.
Oh, shit.
I'm
Yes.
back. Here's my drink. We're ready to go. We got a special question and answer because you know why?
Why?
That's what men do.
Men do. That's
Oh,
what
that's
men do. And
Okay.
as Chief Steve, in case you didn't know, it's the only podcast that brings the kitchen table right to you. That's what I'm saying. Pete, and it's brought to you by what, Pete? Give it to
Well,
me.
tonight it's brought to you by, as always, gettinsaltyapparel.com. You guys know where to find all the awesome swag. So go to gettinsaltyapparel.com to get your first do-it-your old ladies anything, your saddle up t-shirts, your hats, your drinking apparel, and all the other wonderful stuff, the accoutrement to life that we provide at gettinsaltyapparel.com.
Because this still is America, capitalism, land of the free, home of the brave, where you can make a buck. All you need is a good idea. You don't even have to be smart, because I'm not that smart, right? I'm making some money. I'm not the brightest. I'm not the brightest bulb. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But it's America. You know what I'm saying?
That's
What's
right.
it say on your shirt there, Chief Steve?
What does it say?
Oh, stand up
Stand
for
up.
Betsy Ross. That's the Rush Limbaugh shirt. Love it, Chief Steve.
That is. Stand up for Betsy.
Somebody wrote there, Chief Steve, it's not too late to turn around. No. He
Run,
loves
I
that.
can
man.
just watch TV. You know.
Run.
No.
Quick shout out from me to Mr. Tony Buckrup, who hooked me up with this Gary, Indiana fire department t-shirt. Actually, we all got one. So thanks, Tony B, if you're listening, buddy. That was awesome.
Was
What
that
is
your
that?
salty guy?
Is that extra medium, that one on you? Was that a small,
Just-
extra
no,
small?
man, this is a large, baby. I'm just getting swole.
Oh, all right. Next. Okay. So, we got Fat Daddy Ray Sealy in the room. Any second, maybe Hank.
Oh, before I
Oil
forget
chicken.
to start it off,
Oh,
is Mom watching? We have to give a shout out to Mom.
okay, give a shout out to
Ellie.
Ellie Coops watching. Give
That's
a shout
my boys.
That's my boy. He's on the show tonight.
I didn't see him tipping his elbow back, Kevin.
Don't drink too much on the show. I'm just saying you don't want to say something you'll regret. I said, Ma, I've been doing that all my life. What, are you fucking kidding me now? Now I'm going to start. Now I'm going to change. Crying out loud.
A little late on that one. But
Yeah, she was comparing us to Of Mice and Men, saying that I was Lenny. So I don't know what that means. And you're, what's the other guy's name?
Squiggy.
Tell me about
No.
the rabbits.
No.
Tell me about the
Tell me about the
rabbits.
What was the guy's name? Somebody
I
in the
don't
chat will know who it is. I don't know.
All
Well,
right.
anyway, Pete, we got the historian with us, the chief.
semi-story.
42 years.
41
on
and
the
a half. Don't
41 and a
exaggerate.
half, 41 years on the JOB. Started out in engine 212, unfortunately, but he had a good time there. Then he went to 138, the Corona Tigers.
I did go there.
138, America's truck. Supposedly one of the busiest trucks, allegedly, on the job. Maybe when you were seeing some work over there when you were there, right? In the 80s?
Yeah.
Good place, man.
What year were you there? What year is 80? What?
81, 87.
81 to 87, just off the cusp of the war years.
Well,
Sorry?
I wouldn't say where 138 was ever really was in the war year area. They were just, they had a decent amount of work. They still do this, they still do somewhat, but they were never in like the South Bronx area or different areas of Brooklyn that were, being totally devastated. Bushwick and Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights. It wasn't an area like that. They were, like I said, they were a moderately busy truck.
That's a huge
So
area.
you caught you wherever they have a huge response area. Huge.
They have a big response area, yes.
All right. So you did how many years there, and then you studied like a good student?
I did 6 years there. 2 years in
6 years
212
there.
before I transferred. 6 years in 138, and then
So 8 years
then
as
off
a
to lieutenant.
Huh? Up to lieutenant. Always top of the list, right? He's always a hard studier. What'd you score on your lieutenant's test? Where were you?
Number 11.
Number 11. Double ones. 11
Double
on the
ones.
list. What'd you score? What would you score? Do you remember?
98.
Oh, not that anybody's bragging. So then you made your
You asked.
then you're lieutenant.
You asked.
I asked. So then you're a lieutenant in Quanta Cinco Quanta, whatever. Where
In
was
Quanta
that?
Chink.
55.
Knucklehead.
Quanta Chink.
We did a little spotlight on 55 engine. You were
Right.
down there. You loved that down there, right? At
I
first you
did.
didn't like
I
it, though.
enjoyed 55 a lot. I enjoyed. I was there for about 5 years. I really enjoyed my time there. They weren't like again. They weren't a super busy company, but they were a very interesting place to work. Very interesting. The guys that went the time I was there, the guys were all great. I had a very good time there, and I thoroughly, as much as a guy like me can enjoy himself. I enjoyed myself.
Somebody did notice a good smile at one point already, so we got one in the bank.
I'll
One in the
try.
bank.
I'll try to keep that down though. If you want.
Is that where you? I hope Chief Steve shoves a dirty sock in Kevin's mouth. That's got to be somebody we know. How do they know that already?
Oh boy.
Kevin Malone, pull that up, Pete. How does
Oh,
somebody
I've
know?
said that a few times.
You've said that?
You've
How
said that
did he
before.
know that you used to do that when I was a kid? That's just wrong. I don't know how you possibly know that. It's got to be somebody we know.
You were
I
probably
don't
drunk
know.
when I said that out loud.
Somebody, I don't know. So anyway, the
And I
question
told
was
you I didn't do that. It was your middle brother that did that. We used to do it to him, and he used to do it to you.
right. It just trickled down.
Right.
Trickled down.
Trickle down
I told the
economics,
story.
Right.
Right.
It's all the
All right.
same.
So when you went to Manhattan, was that where you picked up the love of Manhattan, or you had it already? Your love
No,
of
that
the
was that's probably where I really came to enjoy the history of Lower Manhattan and how interesting it was. Because it goes, but that area that goes back there in the Brooklyn waterfront, those are the two areas
oldest, right?
that really, where the FDNY came out of. I mean, Brooklyn, they had their own department up until they joined up in 1898 when they all became one. But they had their own Brooklyn Fire Department. While in the New York Fire Department was called the Metropolitan Fire Department. That was Manhattan. And then you had
that started from
Queens. You had
downtown up, right? It started from downtown. It started from downtown
and
built
it
its
moved
way up.
uptown. The city,
Right.
the city moved uptown. At certain times, like up by where Central Park was, that was considered country, where people that lived downtown had country houses up there. They went up there in the summer.
Really?
Yep. And same thing with the boroughs too, which the funeral home where Papa was laid out, Hess Miller on Metropolitan Avenue, was originally built as a summer home for the Brooklyn borough president.
Look at that! Look at this guy coming at facts, just
So,
falling out
I
of his
didn't know that.
pockets. Just falling out of his pockets. Those facts.
Well,
You hear that?
Was it
Well-
Nita Steins? Wasn't that like a stopping point before? Was it Nita Steins? Yeah, right by 69th and Metro, right? That was Nita Steins
that
there,
was
right?
Nita Steins.
Right. So that was like a
Nita-
stopping point before people went out to Long Island, right? If I remember reading something about that.
Well, Nita Steins grew, their business there was because they had a cemetery there. And back when, because that goes back to the mid 1800s, you buried somebody, it was like a day trip. So they had rooms upstairs and, it was a hotel and everything there.
There's actually some graves in that cemetery from the 1700s. When I used to work in there, those were some of the oldest, the late 1700s.
Yeah, there's all, like I say, it was an old area there, and it was all cemetery. There was nothing else there. And then when you went a little further east, it became farms. So if you were going to bury somebody in the cemetery, it was a day trip. So you probably stayed over in Nita Steins and had a meal. And
got a couple, tipped a few back, maybe a couple like this,
maybe a couple like that.
something like that.
I don't
All right,
take
so
it
let's
that
speed up
Chief Stevens.
before we get to the question. So then you get promoted captain. What'd you get on the captain's test? Give us a little Spread your wings a little.
The captain's test was
Spread like a peacock a little bit. Go ahead.
No, the captain's test was a very strange test because, you listen. If you follow guys that study in the fire department, almost every test has got a story.
Mm-hmm.
Every test has got a story to it. Hardly ever a test goes like my lieutenant's test. They threw that test out. I had to take it again because it was cheating on it.
Kicking the ass.
So we retook that test. Now the captain's test I took, they only asked 29 fire department technical questions on it, and the rest was reading comprehension. They gave you. They passed out this booklet that was. I'm sure if you run a job, you've heard many people say, "I went down with the ship" when they took that captain's test.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't do well in the reading comprehension, which was most of the test, you weren't getting made off that list, which you didn't. And it was actually even the 29 technical questions were terrible. I'm not going to defame the person that wrote them, but
no, don't do that.
They made 6 changes out of 29 questions.
What does his name rhyme with?
I ain't getting it to you.
Come on,
You can sneeze it.
Sneeze it. You can sneeze it out like
No.
Timmy.
And besides, the person that I'm talking, he was only one of the people working on it, so I don't want to.
But Pop wasn't alive when you got made captain, right? It passed.
No, he was alive when I took the test. He
never saw you get made.
I took the test, and then the following week he passed away.
So then you became chief, and how long were you captain for?
I was a captain from 93 to 97. End of 93, September of 93 to July of 97.
Then you got the battalion chief test. How'd you do on that one?
Battalion chief test, I did well. Again, it was another test where, like I say, every test has got a story. They gave a very good test, very good written test. Probably the tests I took, probably the best technical test that I took. And politics got involved, and they wanted to put senior men on the list, so they wound up and they made 14 changes in the test. And in order to make sure that they didn't dump any of the senior guys on that list, they didn't throw any questions out. So that's how you bring people in. You make double, triple, and quadruple answers,
right?
And then you don't throw any questions out.
Yeah, so that's like you almost pick who the fuck you want, basically.
Well, that's what they were trying to do, and to some extent, it worked. One of the guys that they were trying to get on did not make it. Happened to be the union president at the time, and he wound up, even with the 14 changes, wound up failing by a point.
Oh man, who was that at the time?
I ain't giving you his name either.
Chubby guy? That guy?
I was going to say, is he a chubby dude?
He was a chubby guy.
Next question. Ruffy, your feet is all fucked up.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. You're a mess. You're locking up.
Is he frozen?
Yeah, he's all frozen.
Oh,
he's out.
gone.
What the hell happened?
He's out. He'll come back.
He'll come back. He just had a blip. Do you guys
want
to
the White House's internet went down. Do you see those curtains? It looks like he's in the Oval Office. See those giddy curtains behind him?
Oh, he's coming back.
Hey.
There he is. He looks like he's in the Oval Office. You're still jammed up. Now you're moving a little bit. All right. So fast forward. How many years you got on before you got made chief?
I got made chief I had 18 years on.
Oh, that's a good time. So you were a shooting star, making it up there, and then you got promoted. Let's fast forward so we get to the questions. You got promoted deputy chief right after 9/11, right? Just by the fact that we lost so many, it bumped you up the list a little bit. You got catapulted into that position.
No, actually, when the day of 9/11, the only guy that was ahead of me on the list was Charlie Casper, who did pass away at the
right. He was
site.
stock chief, right?
Yeah, he was the number ahead of me on the list. The day I got made, 4 of us got made. Me, Tommy Jensen, Vinny, who's still in the 11th Division now. I always, the heck's his last name with an M. Damn it.
That guy. Right. It's all right. You're old. It's okay. No worries.
And
Don't worry about it.
Paulie Farrell, who was in the 13th Division.
Oh, Paulie Farrell. I know him.
Yeah, so the 4 of us got made, and like I say, and they promoted Charlie posthumously. Toy
Gotcha.
Casper.
All right, Pete. So let's roll with some questions for El Chief of.
And we
of
have a
history.
lot.
Go
So
with
we're
it.
good. Just so
You
everyone
all right? You okay? You want to take a break? You good?
I'm good. You know,
Get a glass of water. I worry about you sometimes.
I might need a nap.
You might need a nap. You okay? All right,
Yeah, you can talk to Lou for a few minutes. It's like a doze.
So we got a lot of questions, you guys. So I'm gonna really
I'll
be
try to
looking
stay awake.
email.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna
Go
be
ahead,
looking
hit
at
'em.
the email more than the chat tonight, so nobody get offended. We got a lot to do in the email here. So first question. My fire photography club visits every firehouse in different boroughs each year. What is the FDNY's position on mascots in firehouses? Who gets sued if a dog bites a civilian? Does the captain have final say, or do the members vote on this decision? From Mike Schumacher.
From Mike Schumacher. Well, the regulations tell you that in a double house where the engine is in quarters, the engine captain is in charge of the firehouse, and he is the one who makes that determination whether you can have a dog or not. The regulations also say that a dog has to be leashed and cannot be unrestrained with people in quarters, especially. So I have had some personal experience with that when I was a captain.
How was
Okay,
it?
give it to us. What happened? They came in with a muddy.
No, I came in and for a night tour, and there was this big, scruffy, disgusting-looking dog sitting at house watch. And I questioned the house watchman. I said, whose dog is this? And he said to me, "Oh, it's the firehouse's dog."
Really?
I said, "Yeah, okay." I said, "And who made it the firehouse's dog?" And he threw out one of the members' names, and I said, "Well, where is that member?" "Oh, he left." I said, "Oh, he left?" Okay. I said, "Open the door." So he opened the door, and the dog left after
the
the
fucking
member.
dog left.
What?
That was the end of
just like that.
the dog. Mhm.
Wow.
You just let the dog walk the streets, Chief?
Just like that.
That's where they took him from. They took him from the streets, and they brought him into the firehouse.
No wonder they love you over there. They loved you.
Why don't you tell me a funny story about you? Why don't you tell me the funny story about you when I was over there as the captain?
I think I told that story already, didn't I?
I haven't seen everyone. Why would you have a reason to tell that story?
I don't remember what it was. I don't tell the story.
I remember what it was.
Don't be cryptic. Don't be cryptic.
Story. So I'm working. I thought he would be working that day. So I take a detail over to the truck, right? And he's not working. He was in the engine. So I thought I'd get a chance to work with him, but I didn't. So anyway, I'm sitting in the house watch with a guy that I know from the truck, and in walks a guy from the engine. This is the end of the tour now. I'm sitting in there, and a guy walks in. This guy, Paulie.
I remember this
I'm not
story.
afraid to get in. Paulie comes in. He goes, "Hey, is that fucking cocksucking Nazi in yet?" So the guy goes, "Oh, what do you mean, his brother?" He's like, "Oh, we always fuck around like that, me and the guy. We're good like that, man." Tight. Yeah, he was loved. He was loved by that place. All right, Pete, give us another one. Come on.
All right, moving on. Hello, Pete, Lou, and Fidget. Who's Fidget?
That's me, Fidget.
Fidget. Yep, with the lighter over there.
I've been called worse. Go ahead.
Love the show and want to know something. You guys always talk about different companies and their quarters by street names. I guess because they were in your response areas and you got to know them. Does Chief Steve, as a historian of the FDNY, know where every active house is in all 5 boroughs? Thanks, Joe G.
Okay, Chief Steve says, "No, I don't."
You don't know what?
That's a lot.
Quarters of every active company in the
What
job.
percentage would you know? Give me a percentage. 80%?
Well, I could tell you probably almost every single unit in Queens, most of the units in Brooklyn, every unit in the 1st Division in Manhattan. I don't know. I really don't know Upper Manhattan's locations too much, and I don't know the Bronx. I did.
Yeah, the Bronx is tough. The Bronx
I
is
worked very, very little in the Bronx. I did basically in the Bronx. I did 1 tour as a lieutenant in '82 and '31 on a cold winter's night where we got a job and we burnt the building down. The chief told me I did a good job.
Good job. Excellent.
And I did a few tours as a battalion chief.
Great job.
And a few tours as a deputy. But other than that, I really never worked in the Bronx.
Right.
I didn't work, like I was saying, too much in Upper Manhattan either.
Like we were saying before, man, the Rug had a buff in his house called Davy the Horse-Faced Boy. And David, he looked like he had a horse face. He was off. There was something wrong.
Yeah, and I think Junior used to call him that.
Yeah, they called Davy the Horse-Faced Boy. But if you threw out a box, if you picked out any box and you gave him the numbers, he could tell you every single unit that was on that box. He was like the Davy the Horse-Faced Boy, Rain Man.
Like Rain Man, huh?
Yeah, definitely ladder. Definitely.
Definitely 160. 116's first due, 261. Definitely 263, 262.
Definitely.
260 on the all hands. Yes, definitely. No doubt.
Well, I was saying Chief Burns, who was the operations chief the day of 9/11, they said that he knew like every street in the city.
Every
I can tell you.
Really?
Yep.
Wait a minute.
That was what was said. I never had
In the whole city, Roofy? In the world? In the
World?
city? In the world?
I didn't say world. You said world.
We're making fun of somebody else. That's all right. Rain Man. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Pete. So here's Davy the Horse-Faced Boy. I don't even know if he's still alive, but
Cheers, Davey. Yeah, horse face. We love you.
Nice.
the horse-faced son of a bitch.
All right. Hey guys, love the podcast. Excited for the 10K subscribers. Thank you. So are we. My question for this guy. My question for Chief Steve is: did Kevin start steroids as a toddler, or did that come later? Thank you. Stay low and go. From Gabriel Aquila.
Well, I couldn't say it's a toddler, but it's been so long I can't remember.
I remember what I looked like when I was a kid, when I graduated.
I didn't say you haven't been a kid in quite a while. So
Did all the Kublers typically have your build, Chief, or Kevin's build?
They all had your father. You guys were all like your father. You all had big chests. Richie had a big chest.
Except for Babyhead. Except for my brother Tom, I mean.
Yeah, right.
Brother, yeah. He looks like Morty the Jew from.
What's going on?
What's going on here?
What's going on here?
Maury's wigs don't come off.
I thought he'd never shut up. All right, let's get to a real question. Here we go. Hey, Ruffy, Kevin, Pete.
Hold on. Will you put the lighter down, please? Put the lighter down.
He's playing with the lighter.
Right.
Yeah, thing's horrible. Horrible. All right. Hey, Ruffy, Kevin, Pete, and Chief Steve. It's great that you're finally on the podcast. As we've seen in the Gone But Not Forgotten special on old firehouses, I can tell you that you have dabbled deep into the history of the job. My question for you, Chief Steve, is what were the events throughout your time on the job, excluding 9/11, of course, that are embedded now in the history of the FDNY? What makes them historical outside of the loss of members? And what tools of the trade did you learn at these jobs? From Owen Moeller. Nice
That would
question.
probably be running water, right? When they first came out with running water. And
That and then when we stopped,
Toilets.
when we stopped running next to the rig,
right.
that was a big improvement,
Yeah.
Well, one particular job that kind of would answer that, would pertain to that is, and it's probably about a dozen years ago now. We had a multiple in Corona, and it was about a week before Christmas, week or two before Christmas, and it was a night tour. It was a narrow block. It was like a Queen Anne, and it was like an SRO, and the fire was in the basement. A good part of the fire was in the basement. And at the top of the basement steps, they had a security iron door that wasn't solid. So the fire was coming through the door, right? And the stairs turned, so the engine was trying to hit the fire, which they couldn't do. because they weren't really hit. They'd open up the line and it would just knock it down a second, and the fire would come back. And the truck, every time the truck tried to get the door, the fire came up back at them, and they would have a hard time getting this. It was a security door. So there were actually, there were multiple people in the basement, and I think this was the first time that I told the guys to open up the line into the basement windows, and to knock the fire down from the outside, which wasn't a big thing that we really ever did, and we do it more now. We look at it to doing it more now, but at the time, I think it was the first time I ever did it, and we eventually did get down there, and there was a kid floating in a crib. There was the uncle. There were multiple fatalities down. We just couldn't get down there.
Right.
And so it changed my mind about knocking a fire down, from the outside when instead of trying to beat your brains in.
Quick knockdown,
and then using an interior attack. But like I say, that years ago, that was taboo. You didn't do that no matter what. And even in cases going back, where you'd hear about it once in a while, even if it was successful, it was frowned upon.
Right.
But like I said, that's one aspect of the job that has changed for the better, because sometimes you just can't get it, and from whatever reason, like I said, you don't have the angle, you're not hitting fire. A similar story, it's a little bit different, but the Empire State Building fire from '88, they couldn't get this fire. They were coming out of a fire tower, and every time they opened the door, the fire was blowing out, and it actually melted the metal rail in the fire tower.
Wow.
They had to wind up coming down the hallway from a totally different way and hitting the fire. They couldn't hit it head on. But like I say, sometimes the way that we don't want to do it is the way you got to do it. You got to, the conventional way doesn't always work.
Right.
So.
And you know what else?
What?
You said doo-doo. Sometimes we do.
So hold on. So out of that whole thing that he just said, the only thing that you got out of that, I was like this the whole time about the stories, and the only thing
he said it early on. He said sometimes you do.
I heard him.
He said doo-doo.
I was more interested in the
listen, to answer all you assholes in the chat, yes, I have the Napoleonic complex. There's no doubt about it. I don't deny it. I see all the comments in there. So, yes, I have.
Did you tell me don't look at the comments?
Yeah.
I have the little man complex.
Didn't he tell me don't look at the comments?
I did. Yeah. I see a couple of them go by. But, yes, I have the Napoleon. That's why I never let any of you big guys beat me in the gym ever, or in a fight or whatever it is. Never fuck with the little guy. That's what I say.
I
your mother's not going to be happy. You cursed again.
I mean, he's really out of control.
All right, good. Give me another one.
All right. Question 5 of many. Watch you guys all the time and try not to miss a show. Great stuff. My question is, I grew up in the 1960s. I remember that all the fire apparatus had bells. Going on a job or returning from a job, someone on the apparatus would ring the bell in some kind of cadence. It was really cool and one of my fondest memories growing up as a kid. When did the FDNY get rid of the bells? I also remember the FDNY having engines and tillers. When did the FDNY start using a ladder truck other than a tiller? Love all your podcasts and much respect to the FDNY, from Demas Reyes.
Well, the bells being gone is actually before my time.
What?
I'm telling you, before my time. When I came on, the ringing the bell was basically gone. If some couple of companies just kept it on the rig for their own purposes, but as far as being a regular part of the apparatus, it was gone by then. I saw Jack Cleehouse's name in there. You might ask Jack. Jack came on
before
10 years before me.
What?
10 years before me, Jack came on.
Maybe you convinced him to come on the show here, seeing that you guys are buddies.
Mate, well, He could tell you a lot of things, that's for sure.
After tonight, probably not, though. Right?
Probably not.
But you were saying they had him on the back step of the engines, and the guys.
Yeah, well, when the guys used to ride on the back step, that would be ringing the bell. When they're standing on that dangerous back step, which many guys, one of the reasons many guys fell off that back step and were killed.
Right.
It was a dangerous. I only did a very little bit of that also because when I came on the job, it wasn't permitted, but a couple of companies did it anyway.
What, they still rode on the back?
Yes, 216 rode on the back, 214 rode on the back, and I worked a couple of tours being detailed from 212. 216 was in our battalion, so I worked there a few times. 214, I worked there on overtime, and they rode on the back step. It wasn't, you weren't supposed to, but they did. 212, we had all old guys. No one was riding the back step.
Listen, Patty Lee in the chat here wants to know if you still keep in contact with all the old Express softball members. You know Patty Lee?
Patty Lee from 124?
Yes.
Yeah. He just asked me, he just said that. Do you still keep in contact with the old Express softball team?
Not too much. No, not really.
Seeing that most of them are probably dead by now. You probably don't keep it.
Oh, my God.
They're old, man. They're old.
Some of the guys from Pat's team might be dead.
Yeah. Oh, Pat played against you, Patty Lee?
Yeah. Why do you think he's asking?
Yeah, we're going to get him on the show, Patty Lee.
Hey,
he was on, what the heck was the name of it? There was the bar up on Grand Avenue he played for.
I don't know. Which bar?
Grand off of 69th there. I forget. He'll probably tell you. Yeah. But, and then just to go finish the rest of that question, the first tower ladder that they brought into the FDNY was 1965, and it went to ladder 1. They had the first tower ladder.
1965? Really?
65. As far as rear mounts, I'm not sure what year they brought the first rear mount in. But a lot of companies like 138 was a tiller. As were a lot of companies until 140 was a tiller.
Right.
Most of the companies were tillers, and then they brought the rear mounts in. And like I say, in '65 they started with the tower ladders.
Patty Lee said he played for Burks.
Burks. I couldn't think of the bar.
Boys, I've been looking for when they got rid of the bells for the sirens, but what I've been coming up with is something completely crazy, which is completely different. New York City is considering less annoying sirens. Apparently, they want to make quieter sirens for fire trucks. How do you guys feel about that? That's insanity.
Well, a lot of what they need to do is better technology on the siren, because the siren affects a lot of the guys on the rig. A lot of guys have had hearing problems from years of being,
right here.
75%
on
the rig.
On my left ear. 75%.
Yeah, and you weren't even on the job that long.
No.
So.
I did more time in the shitter than you did on the job. No, bro. I was waiting for that with this whole podcast. I did more time in the shitter than you did on the job, kid.
That's an old line. I wouldn't use that.
You got a better one?
But I just told you weren't on the job that long. That's all.
So Chief, what do you think? Like they would do the new the police, like that very low rumbling thing that they have, like the roop roop.
Well, like I said, I know that they've worked on technology to make it better for not just for people hearing it, for like I say, for the guys on the rig, because they're the most that are exposed to it.
What about guys on the rig closing the windows? I mean, you can't do that, or it's just not part of the thing.
You can. Okay.
But,
still, guys.
What is it, Kev?
I don't know.
We gotta go back. Somebody had a really good line. I'm not saying Chief Steve is old, but in history class, he just looked out the window and took notes.
Steve, what was the story with the cadence? We didn't talk. We talked about. Do you remember a cadence or something? Guys returning back to quarters with a cadence or any of that stuff?
I don't know. Like I say, those bells were gone before I came in. The only bells that were still in the job when I came in is the bells to turning out. They used to every Wednesday they would use the bells because at the time they had just brought the computer in. They had just started with the computer, and a lot of times it went down. So they depended heavily on the voice alarm, and if you had if you had a problem with the voice alarm, then you had to go to the bells. So they wanted to make sure that even though we didn't use them too much, that the young guys that were coming in the job knew them if they needed them as the backup.
So every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday they did the bells. And if you were sitting out there like me on Wednesday, you were sitting out there with a piece of paper and a pencil trying to get the bells, and somebody would yell from the back, "Hey, idiot, that's our box." Because they knew them also, by heart.
Right.
Whereas we'd be trying to just write because we had very little contact with it. So
Wednesdays was just more than Prince Spaghetti Day.
Right. That's right.
All right. Let's do some more because we
Which they had a second alarm in the Prince Spaghetti building on Metropolitan Avenue, by the way.
What? When was that? What year? Second alarm?
Oh, that was in the 60s, late 60s.
In the Prince Spaghetti, where was it? On Metropolitan? What?
It was by Metropolitan Avenue, right by where Woodward comes in, right there.
No way. That's where the Prince Spaghetti was?
It was.
Bohack Square?
Just below Bohack Square.
Oh, shit. Look at that. This guy's has just got shit falling out of his pockets. You see that, Rafrano? He's just full of useless information. I love it. And I know the guy 52 years,
Yeah.
You learn something new about him every day.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, number 6, guys. Here we go. Can you explain the borough commanders and their ranks and their call signs if I was buffing on the radio and the ranks leading up to? Thanks, guys. Former career firefighter Daniel from South Carolina.
When you say their ranks, they are just what they say. There's 5 boroughs in the city of New York, and every borough has a borough commander, and that he is in charge of the entire borough. Which, depending on which borough you're talking about, like Queens' example, you have 2 divisions. You have the 13th and the 14th division. In Brooklyn, you have the 11th, the 15th, and actually the 8th division comes over and does a few battalions on the. They're from Staten Island, but they come over and they do a few battalions on the Brooklyn side. But as far as their rank, they're basically like a 3-star chief, and their call sign, depending on which borough they are, they're like car 3, 4, 5, whatever number. It's a numbered car. I don't know which numbers are assigned to who, but that's basically how that's set up.
That's you get appointed to that?
They're all appointments. Everything above my rank, above deputy, is an appointment. You go.
You got to go down to headquarters.
So,
what I'm saying.
Deputy assistant chief,
right.
and then chief of chief of fire prevention, chief of training, chief of support services.
Right.
That's how that's.
Right, but there's only one way to get that. You got to go down and
Gurgle.
You got to gurgle a little bit.
Well, actually, like I say, for the most part, they reach out to people that they want. And,
so they pick the guys they want because they know.
Well, that's basically
like
gurgle. Bleh.
Hey, Steve. So if you're the division commander, that's 1 star. I forget all these things.
Division commander is 1 star,
and then 2-star would be what?
2-star is a deputy assistant chief. But that's normally not. That's like downtown. Your assistant chief of operations, or you could be chief of the Rock. That's what my partner Brendan McSweeney, when he left, he became chief of the Rock. He was 2 stars. Then they promoted him to chief of training. Now he's 3 stars.
So what's the highest? 4-star chief?
No, 5-star chief of department. Chief of department is a circle.
That's one guy.
That's one guy, chief of department. You were in this job, right?
Life like a circle.
The circle, right. The other ones are like
FDNY, right?
Like the other ones are like 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? There's one with a circle. That's the chief of department. He's got 5 in a circle.
That's from right. Life like a circle.
Hey, Nick KUBLER in the chat, please go to the studio and grab the lighter from your father's hand and then throw it at him. Thank you, Nick.
My son said that?
Yeah, it's annoying.
That boy.
It's driving us nuts. Let's see, guys.
Put it over here. There you go. Goodbye.
There you go. All right. Hello. I enjoy the podcast and the great stories. Reminds me of hanging out on the Apparatus floors, BSing with the fellas. That's what we're here for. Question number 1: are the members that man the field firehouse.com, certified firefighters or specialist radio techs? And question number 2, how do the chief's aides get selected? And is it a sought after position? Lou N., retired in Tennessee.
Okay. The guys in field comm are firefighters and officers. You have a lieutenants, and I think there's a captain in field comm. I'm not positive, but there's definitely lieutenants and there's firefighters. What they are is they're guys that basically have some kind of knowledge in that field of communications, or if they haven't, they get some when they get there. But they're all firefighters. It's all guys from the job in field comm. And the second part of that, what was that again? I'm old. You gotta repeat it.
Second one, no problem. It's how did the chief's aides get selected, and is it a sought after position?
Chief's aide.
Go ahead, say it.
Say what?
Any jackass could be a chief.
No, say that.
Oh, all right.
No,
Chief's aide is like this right now, like.
I was the best damn age ever had for a short time.
The best damn aide ever had.
I know it. He smiled the most.
Basically, a chief's aide, through the years, we have had trouble getting guys because most guys want to go to fires and and be firemen, and they feel that becoming an aide that they're not. Now there are guys that come in the job, and I've seen this too, that want to become aides right away because they've come to the realization that firefighting is not really what they want to do. And, so like I say, chiefs do need aides. And I've never had a problem with a guy that, who didn't want to go to fires, but he wanted to be an aide and was a good and capable aide, as long as he didn't go in the kitchen and start telling stories, fire stories. Because, like I say, I'm not saying anybody. I'm just saying as long as they didn't do that. Because I saw a guy when I was a lieutenant. They took a guy who was a probie and they made him an aide, and he didn't have any problem with it. He was fine with it. He was a good aide. It was a good position for him. They needed an aide, but he never you never catch him in the kitchen telling you get low and I did this. So I didn't have a problem with it because we do need aides.
Is he still there?
No. Many years ago.
I thought we were talking about somebody else. Maybe me and you know who that person was.
Garrett Lindgren.
No, I said many years ago in the battalion.
I was an aide to Chief Steve when he was a deputy. And I got to tell you, I did learn something that a good aide could be very valuable to a chief.
It is. Like I say, that's why, like I say, you don't just want somebody. There are guys that are bad aides, just like anything else. And that's not very helpful because a chief cannot see everything. The reason you have that aide is because, like I say, a good aide can be very helpful to you at a job.
Mm.
Do you get a lot of older guys who are like maybe
you do? I was saying you get guys that have done their time and
right. That's what I mean.
And they still want to stay in the job a few more years. And then they say, okay, yeah, I'll be an aide now.
I wasn't a bad aide, Gonzo.
I didn't say you were a bad aide. I never
Gonzo said I was a bad aide. Gonzo said I was a bad aide. Gonzo said I was a bad aide.
Who said?
Gonzo in the chat. I was not a bad aide.
Number one, you weren't an aide long enough to, like everything else. It takes time to be a good aide. You weren't really there long enough to be like I'm gonna tell you the truth. We had a bunch of aides that were there for a while, and they were good. They were good aides. They were, they knew the job. They knew when you had a 1045 right away. They knew that the paperwork had to come out. That all the company, before they left the scene, they all had to make make the report out. I mean, it's easier now with the emailing and all the stuff. But I'm going back 10 or 15 years when they, you had to go back right to quarters and make out what's called the BF-19, the preliminary for a fatal, and they want that right away. So you got to get all the information from all the companies, the order of their response and all of that. And like I say, a good aide does a lot of that work for you. He gets the form to the companies, make sure they don't leave without doing and there's, like I say, there's a lot of other things. A good aide, depending, takes some guys a while to understand how to give a report. You tell them something, and then, I can hear a lot of times him transmitting it on the radio, and I'm like, I don't think that's what I meant.
Hey,
So,
you want to hear the conversation in the car when I was driving him, bro? Like this, all right? I'm going to a job. Make a left. Make a right. This is what he's saying to me. I'm like, am I fucking driving or do you want to fucking drive? What are we doing here? Make a left. Make a right. Go 3 blocks. Get off this exit. What the fuck, man?
I do know my way around.
He does know his way around.
Former show alumni Garrett Lingren is asking, how many years of culinary and haberdashery schooling are required before a chief can become a rack commander? Asking for a friend.
What?
You don't know that?
Rack commander. What's a rack commander?
RAC.
Yeah, I know what the rack is.
But you know what a haberdashery is, and a culinary schooling, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
All right, he's got very high level comedy. I don't know, what can I tell you?
I don't know.
I thought that was
We're simple guys. You got to make it simple.
Make it simple. See, now this would be a time, Ruffy. You know what I'm saying? Like when the bell comes into effect. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. See, Pete don't know yet. And neither does Chief Steve.
I don't know, man.
So should I let it out now or should I wait?
No, I got nothing.
No, should I let it out or should I wait?
Next question.
Really, let it go. All right, let it go. I won't divulge the bell that's coming.
I got an idea.
What?
You summon bitch.
I'm gonna mount Pop's bell that he got off the engine.
Yeah.
Right in the corner here of the new podcast room. I'm gonna snake the rope through the beams, and it's gonna hang right here. And every time Pete asks a stupid question, I'm gonna hit the fucking bell.
Nice.
Well, moving on to the next question.
Okay.
Great show as always. Pete is the best producer in the business.
I think you heard that.
It's just what it says, and this is where you know he's lying. And Lieutenant and Kevin are living legends in the FDNY.
Oh wow, he's really full of shit. Yeah.
Question: Does or did the job ever have any regulations about immediate family members being allowed to work in the same house, tour, battalion, etc.? I'm very proud of the chief and Kevin to be able to work together before Kevin went off the job. Keep up the good work. Stay low and go. Big John Albanese.
Mickey, Big Johnny.
Well, to tell you the truth, I've never seen anything written, but there's plenty of rules in the FDNY that are not written. When I was a fireman in 138, we had 2 of the Ryan brothers were in the truck and 1 was in the engine. So
Really?
Yeah.
3 brothers.
3 brothers. They're Well, actually, you know the one Ryan. He's still on the job. He's up in Rescue 3. Big guy. He's the only one still left.
The other guys are out of the job?
The other guys are out of the job quite a while. But they started, they were all started. Actually, the one Ryan started in 324 and came over to 138. The second Ryan came to the engine and then went to the truck. And then the third Ryan came to the engine and then transferred. He went up to 33 truck and then went to rescue. He's still in
33 truck.
Billy Ryan?
Bobby Ryan. Bobby
33
Ryan.
truck. We know somebody wanted to go to 33 truck.
Yeah.
Not going to tell you what it is, but it rhymes with gooey Shufrano.
Now you remember Bob Farley, don't you?
Yeah, I remember Bob Farley. Yeah.
His father and his brother. His father was in 209. His brother was in 102.
Oh, really?
That's going way back, though.
I didn't know that.
That's like in the 60s and 70s.
His brother was in 102, Bedford Express.
Mm-hmm.
There's no longer a 209 done out.
No, and there's no longer. They used to be in quarters with the 3-4 battalion too, and there's no longer 3-4 battalion.
Some guy wants to know if you were a meal bully. No, Chief Steve is never a meal bully in the firehouse.
A meal bully, telling them what to make.
Yeah.
No, I'm a guest in the firehouse.
He's very gracious too. He's very gracious too. He's a good guy. Go with it, Pete. You got another one?
No, just a funny one from the chat. Pete, could Chief Steve explain what it means when your overtime is high and you're getting sent to the rock? Thanks.
Wait, Pete, and I think it's time for that. right? You know what I'm saying, bro? Cut right into it. Here's your time.
You mean this
Hit
guy
it.
right here?
I'm Chief Steve. I'm here to inspect. That better not be beer on your breath. Line up in order. Dress right, dress. Go get a comb. Your hair's a fucking mess. Proper uniform is what I'm here to see. No getting salty shirts. They won't get past me. 'Cause I'm Chief Steve.
Never gets old.
I like that song better than the first one, though.
You
I
like,
like that.
you like that one
That
better
one's
than the
better,
first
yeah.
one? Yeah,
Yeah. I like that one better than the first one.
you do.
I missed the line about I'm here to check your socks, and then if your OT is high, I'll send you to the Rock. I really missed that.
So
So
you missed that, huh? Well, maybe you could like work it in somehow, you know?
yeah, future iterations.
I like my favorite line is go get a comb. Your hair's a fucking mess.
What was your biggest pet peeve, Steve? What was it? What thing bothers you the most?
What bothers me the most? What bothers me the most is when I think guys disrespect the job to, you know, we are public servants, and you know what we do behind the firehouse doors. You know that's something totally different than when the public sees us. And still to this day, I get upset when I see guys outside of quarters, and they look like ragtag. They don't look like they belong to the biggest fire department in the city, in the country, and I just find that to be disrespectful. You know, we are, like I say, we are public servants. We're supposed to be professionals, and a lot of times guys don't look like they are, and they look like they don't care that they are. So that bothers me to this day, because we don't need any you know, bad press. We don't need people. We want the public to like us, because I feel that, you know, even though fire duty is down tremendously where it is, although it might come back again, we still do a tremendous service. You know, there's only one city agency that if you call, somebody will be there in 4 minutes. There's no other city agency that can make that claim. Somebody from the fire department will be to you no matter what you call, basically, what kind of emergency, what kind of fire, whatever. Someone will be there in 4 minutes, regardless. There's no other agency can make that claim. So, you know, that's an important responsibility, and we do, no matter what you have, whether it's a water leak, an electrical problem, a car accident, someone's stuck in an elevator, you got a gas leak, someone's been hurt. No matter what it is, the fire department, to some extent, is going to take care of your problem, and we'll be there in a little more than 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know.
Do you remember?
That's what we're known for.
Remember Chief Butler?
Which Butler?
From the 11th Division.
Oh, you're talking about the one from years ago?
Yeah. When I was a probie, we were doing. Remember, you had to do the hose test. So we were at
we
the
still
Navy.
do the hose test.
Yeah, we're at the Navy Yard doing the hose test, and it's kind of physical. You know, you got to roll out all the hose, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was in the proper uniform, except my shirt came untucked from my pants, and he rolled up. And I remember he was screaming at me in my face, calling me a fucking ragamuffin. You look like a fucking ragamuffin. Get back the corners, screaming at me. It's just my shirt untucked. I didn't even have a t-shirt on. My shirt was untucked. He was calling me a fucking ragamuffin.
Just like a funny, just the opposite of that. I had a drill at the DEP by the in Greenpoint there, that sewage treatment plant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was a captain then. This is going back 20 years, I guess, a little over 20 years. And what's his name, who just retired, was a lieutenant in rescue at the time. Harris?
Yeah, we're trying to get him on the show. Glenn Harris?
Yeah. Well, anyway, he comes with rescue there. And for number one, they're like 20 minutes late to the drill. And he got off the rig, and he looked like he had just, rolled in the sand, and he had tried purposely to tear his uniform to shreds.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And the deputy, who was in the 11th Division at the time, who was a pretty salty guy himself, didn't say a word to him. Didn't say a word. I was amazed. Because, like I say, if you had purposely gone out of your way to destroy a uniform.
Couldn't do a better
It would have been
job.
about the same effect.
Really?
Oh, yep.
Hey, somebody in the chat was actually asking why they closed the firehouse on 185 Broom Street, 17 engine. I've said this in the past, and I know our dad was in 17 engine before he went to 291. Do you know why they decided to close them, but disband them?
Why they disbanded 17? You mean? Or,
Yeah.
Well, because you had they basically it was a thing of not closing a firehouse at the time. 15 engine was 2 blocks away on Henry Street, and they were a single engine. So you can close 17, 18 still in quarters. You haven't closed the firehouse, but you closed the company.
Right.
And then what eventually happened was they basically condemned 15's quarters there because it was in such shitty shape. So they brought them over to 17. Now they're in where 17 was. So there was 7. Now it's 15 and 18 versus 17 and 18. But you get away with not closing a firehouse, which is the same thing they did when they closed 261.
209.
Right.
They did the same thing.
209. You close in double houses, and what the public sees is there's still a firehouse there. There's still a company there. They don't understand engine, truck. There's a firehouse there. So there's one less piece of equipment. That's the way to look at it. But you close a firehouse down.
And they shit
Like
themselves.
what they did with 212. Now in 212 and 75, they closed the firehouse, and the people in the neighborhood took the building over. And that's how they started the People's Firehouse thing. It was very, they got, and they had outside people came in from all over, lawyers and all of that. And they actually took over the firehouse. And eventually they came to a compromise, and they reopened 212. First, as they called it, Utility Unit 1. And I mean, just shows you how the kind of stupidity that they did. They had them open, and they only had them respond to first 2 boxes. Which, what are you going to do that for? You have a company there, and now you only have them going to first 2 boxes. If you're going to bring them back,
Right.
So then they did. They brought them back, and they brought them back in like 77. As as 212, and the captain there, this guy Tony Macarino, who was my captain,
Minkin.
he was the captain there from when it was Utility Unit 1. They opened it, made it 212, until he retired just after 9/11. He was
That's a long time sitting
like
in 212.
77 to 2002.
Wow.
Wow, that's a long time.
So we went
A
on
long time.
And that 17 engine, I think they used that for the PD for a while, but now that building's totally gone. They tore it down.
The building's gone.
Yeah.
And they used it for a TV show for a while. They had a TV show that they made. They changed that into like a precinct. I forget what the name of the show was. They changed the facade of the building, and they used it, and they made a TV show out of it for a couple of seasons. But that, again, it's 25, 30 years ago. I don't remember what the name of the show was.
Right. And now it's gone.
Eventually they just tore it down. Italian, he was the captain of 17. That's where Pop had knew him from. He was his captain. Then he became a battalion chief, came back, and that's where he knew him, because when he went on light duty that time, he drove him.
With his foot. Yep. But there, back in the day, 17 engine was doing some work, right? 17 and
Not
11.
some work. They were one of the busiest companies in the city.
17 engine.
That's
11
why
truck.
the 4th Battalion was so busy. That's why they moved the 2nd Battalion from being on Lafayette Street. They moved them up to 55's quarters so that they could take some of the 4th Battalion's boxes because they were too busy.
Right.
I mean,
And that's
15 engine was 2 blocks away. It had to be really busy, obviously.
Oh, it was very, but you know what the funny thing was? 15 was never as busy. 15,
Really?
They weren't as busy because most of the work, was just not there by them. They're 2 blocks from where their quarters are now. They're not 2 blocks from where 17 was originally.
Right.
And 17, even when they were with 18 on Broome, that's not where they originally were either. They were on Ludlow Street, which is a few blocks further up before that.
But it's just a matter of a couple of blocks. If you look at 291, and then you look at 124, they're right down the block. And 124 was the busiest company of all time.
Like 7 blocks away.
Yeah, 7 blocks away. They just 291 just never went that way to get all that work.
Because they had so many other companies there, right? So that's
but you know what? Another thing is like 271 was never as busy as 124 because you had so many engines.
Engines, right?
You had so many other engines around.
I totally think even if you go
218 single engine.
But if you go 140, how close was 140 to 124? And 124 was the busiest in Bushwick at 77. They did the most work of all time, and 140 wasn't catching that work. You know, I mean,
140 never. They didn't go to a lot. They didn't go to a lot of boxes. And when I covered there in 140, when I first got promoted to captain, I had gone down to the Borough Communications office to ask them, because there were boxes that they definitely should have been on. Definitely should have been on boxes, and they weren't. They weren't even like second alarm, like up on like Forest and Palmetto or something. That I'm like, that's crazy. And
they probably beat 124 into that box.
Huh?
They could probably beat 124 into that box. I found out
that Howie Carlson, who was the captain 124 for a good many years, who had been a dispatcher before.
Yeah, so that's how it all worked out. Yep.
That's how it worked out.
You get something to do with that.
And I was trying to get some of the boxes back.
Right.
But when I didn't get the spot, I said, "Oh,
fuck it."
Yeah.
You can have that.
Well, I can't what 140 goes to now.
I know what that's like, trying to get boxes back. Holy Christ.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. And like I say, once I lost a spot, I had no interest in it. So.
What do you got, Petey Peeps?
All right, boys. Chief Steve, as a newly made chief, was it difficult to transition from just supervising your company to multiple companies at a job? And was there any special training or knowledge that was passed down to you from a senior battalion chief or chiefs to help you manage the multiple companies working at a fire and thinking ahead of what your next move should be? Thanks, Paul Bach.
Becoming a chief, and most chiefs will tell you the same thing, is a step similar to going from a fireman to an officer. Right? You can go from lieutenant to captain, and there's not much of a difference. But you go from fireman to lieutenant, there's a big difference. You go from a company officer to a battalion chief, it's a big difference, because you have to step back and realize that you're not a hands-on guy anymore. All right, you're not. You are controlling the operation, not individual units. Oh. So yeah, and in the FDNY, there is a when you get promoted, just like when you get promoted to lieutenant, this flips. There's a command course, which I had when I got promoted, and there were a lot of there were senior deputies. One in particular, a senior battalion chief. One in particular, guy named Tom Kennedy, who was a battalion chief up in I think the 14th or the 16th. I always forget up there, and he was one of the guys that was involved in that program. And what he used to say was, and it is true, he said, it takes about 5 years before you're a good battalion chief, before you can be one. Because there's so many different things that you can, that you're handling and doing now versus, like I say, company officer, lieutenant, and captain. On the fire ground is not a big difference between those two ranks. Maybe in the firehouse, you're the captain, yeah. But
when you have a job in a fire floor, you're basically serving the same purpose.
Doesn't matter whether you're a lieutenant or captain on the fire.
Right.
But like I say, to be a good chief, I agree with him. It takes about 5 years. And I got promoted in 4, so I never got to be a good chief. But,
when you got promoted to BC, they didn't have the fire force sector, right? That wasn't a thing back then?
No.
Right. No. So how do you think that changed?
Most of the things that you have now, the incident command and all of that came out of 9/11.
Right.
After 9/11, because we were a very insulated department, and we felt that we were the busiest in the world, and nobody could teach us anything. Mm-hmm. After 9/11, we had these departments came in, especially a lot of these rural firefighting companies, and they showed us, different, like incident command. We never did incident command. We didn't do that. We just, but we developed that, and along with it came all the rest of the thing, sectoring and and a lot of the other things that went along with it. But prior to that, no, we really didn't.
Prior to that, you didn't have a chief inside the building on the fire floor, right? That wasn't.
Very rare.
I wouldn't say that, because as a battalion chief, I was in the building quite a bit. But years ago, no. Years ago, battalion chief hardly went in the building. But even though we didn't do incident command, we went into a building. And just to give you, you were talking about Butler. You met Mike Butler, didn't you? The tall, thin guy.
Yeah, he was the division commander in the 14th when we became a squad. He fucking hated us.
Right. You know, he was a Miraculous Metal guy.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went to.
Yeah, I should have maybe used that on him when,
but
when he was holding us fast. He hated
but
us.
I had a job one day when I was a battalion chief, and he was in the 3rd Division at the time, and the 1st Division was out at a collapse, and they'd been there for like all day. So he came down from the 3rd Division to this job, and it was a tenement, and I basically everything was good. By the time he got down, we had the fire knocked down. I had the searches on the floor above. I had the exposures covered, all of that. He came down there and he started breaking my balls. Where's your turnout coat? Get your turnout, blah, blah, So then I got my turnout. No, don't worry. But I was like, what the hell? So he left. And my aide says to me, you know what his aide told me? I says, no. He goes, watch me fuck with this guy.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Dick. That's why he was a dick.
I would do it.
But
let me ask you quick, without getting too in depth. Like, over the years, the last couple of years, I heard a lot of guys talking about that there's too many chiefs in the building, right? That they're, they kind of take over for what the officers are doing. Telling their guys, the chief would come in and say, all right, you guys pull over here. And then when they're done, you guys wash it down. And, the officers are standing there. And I've seen it as a squad guy in there. I just think that, I don't know if that's the best.
I tell you the truth, I've never had that said to me. I guess it's possible. But that's the first time I've ever heard of that. You're going to have more supervision because that's the way it is now. Can it maybe be too much in certain? I would because they didn't do this much sectoring and things like that. When I was a battalion chief, it was basically we were up there giving conditions to the incident commander. Do you need anything? What do you got? Things like that.
That makes sense to me, right? If you need another line up there and guys are engaged and they don't have time to say, hey, we need another line up here, then that's where you would fill the gap. But sometimes I feel like it could be, people are waiting for you.
I'm not saying it's not, but no one's ever complained about that to me. No one's ever said that to me. I'm sure it can happen in places. And I'm sure a lot has to do with the individual chief you're talking about, because just like everything else, there are some guys that want to, micromanage everything, and there are more guys that are more like, okay, guys, you take care of this, and once it's over, you let me know when you're done, versus being in there and telling them every little thing to do.
Plus, I think when that starts, right, if I got promoted today, it's already in place, right? Maybe if I only have 5 years on the job,
you haven't seen the other side of it.
Correct. I think that's like anything. Like if you dealt with it,
you're used to it.
Exactly.
Just like now, like I tell guys all the time. There's hardly a fireman that's on the job that was on the job before a CFR.
Right.
And, I explained to him. I said, you came on with CFR as a condition, but when they first brought it in '94. There was a lot of resistance to it.
Yeah, guys hated it.
There was the typical fireman thing saying, you can't make me do that. I'm not doing it. You can't make me do it.
They started the best borough, right? They started it out in Brooklyn, trying to force this down their throat, right? CFRD.
Yeah, it was the whole. That was the whole thing. Yeah.
Again, we didn't like it. We didn't want it. But had they not brought CFRD, the job today would look tremendously different.
Yeah, we'd sleep in the streets. We'd be doing something else.
Well, either that or you'd have a tremendous amount of less companies. Is what you'd have, because the fire duty will not bear out, that many companies.
Right.
Thank God for
that's why I say to the guys all the time, you can say, we're fire department, and we are. That's our main mission. But, most of our work is not fires. Nationally, the amount of fire responses, now, like I say, when you say that, you're taking an average, and the companies that do, but the average is 4%. 4% of responses are for fire,
right?
And the rest is everything else. So You know,
And
if you're
that's
not going
a
to
lot.
take the other, if you're not
That's
going
a
to take the other thing seriously, you're going to be in a world of hurt because, you know, they would have given it
for
to somebody
CO
else.
detectives.
Oh
It
my
wasn't
God.
the CO detectives going off or CFRD
Manholes,
or
manholes,
manholes.
gas leaks, stab
They would
myself.
be shutting companies like crazy.
Yeah, there was a what the hell was his name? Chief of department in the late '80s, Bobby. I forget what the heck his last name was, but he had an apartment in Sty City, and he used to park his car in 14 engine, not 14 engine, in 5 engine on 14th Street. And one of the reasons he wanted to retire is he said because they have plans on here. They want to close 25 companies. He says I don't want to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he says they just look at the numbers and that's all they care about.
They're number crunchers, bean
Right.
counters. That's it.
Right. And like I say, when you look at the numbers without doing all the emergencies, and like I say, and I try to tell guys, it's good work. When you look at our numbers of for CFRD, that's where most of our life saving is. Tremendous amount.
I said this on last week's show when guys used to drag their feet for doing CFR runs. I said you got a better chance at saving somebody's life or making a difference in somebody's life going to a CFRD run than you do going to
Well, look at it this way. Every year in Medal Day, except this year because of COVID, they give out about 45 medals, right? And then every 3 months, they put out on the department order a number of pre-hospital saves, and every 3 months they take about 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah.
You have some companies that have multiple on one department order.
One order, right? Because
One order, they have multiple, 3, 4 lives they've saved. And now you got to remember too that that's only somebody that they brought back on a defibrillator.
Right.
That doesn't count all the other people that you saved just because you didn't shock them.
Right.
You go to a car accident, you stop the bleeding. 100 different other things where you give first aid, but you didn't shock them, so you
anything.
don't.
Even if somebody's having a heart attack and you give it them O2 and it extends the chance of them to get to the hospital.
Right. I'm just saying, you only get credit if you shock them and bring them back. But there's so many other lives that you save other than that that we weren't credited with. But if you came into this job for life saving, that's where we're doing most of our life saving.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I told the guys last week, like especially with me, I was in our first due area when I was in 288. So I tell guys, get your ass out, man. It's important. And an example is that 291 responded to Pop right when he had a heart attack. His first new company wound up working on him. I mean, it was too late because he was dead.
Bobby Turner responded to his father.
Get out of here! I didn't know that. Really?
Yep.
I responded to my father-in-law.
His father lived right near 214. Bobby was a captain there.
Wow.
Wait, you responded to your father-in-law?
Yeah, I was home, but my mother-in-law had called the house, said that my father-in-law had just collapsed. He was probably 8 blocks from where I live. So I ran over there. We called 911 on the way. So that's 295, which is in Whitestone. And when I got there, I knew it was, I knew it was no good. So I started working on him quick. And, I worked on him probably for a few, like the chief said, probably 3-4 minutes. That's the average time to get there. So they came in. They knew I was a fireman right away. I told them I was on the job. And I couldn't really give him any breath because he was just foaming. I kept trying to clear it, but he was foaming so much. But, he's a tough son of a bitch. And the guy, they put all the stuff on him and they got him back. And he lived for probably a month and a half. He was never really there. But it was, to me, it was just something where the family could, by the time a month and a half was up, you almost wanted him just to go to rest. You know what I'm saying? He had, but it wasn't a shock anymore. It was kind of, had he died that day, it might have been more of a shock, obviously. But
sure.
So,
well,
and you see,
we should thank you these questions.
Chief Kleehouse just said that 314 responded to Bobby Turner's house when he had a heart attack.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And
Okay.
that's what, see that?
Comes around, goes around.
He pulls those little nuggets out of nowhere, Kleehouse.
Yeah.
You gotta get him on.
you gotta get him
Oh,
He'll be pulling them out on the show.
he's got a lot of nuggets.
I see that.
So-
that.
Let's
Probably not a handful of guys that have been to more fires than Jack.
Yeah, we'll get him. What do you got, Pete? You got any more?
Yeah, we got a bunch. So here's one of my favorite types of questions because it's coming from a guy in Scotland. So hey guys, first I'll start by saying I love the podcast and listen religiously. Unfortunately, never been on the live chat as it's 2 a.m. here where I live. It's on my to-do list though. Anyway, my question: the difference in firefighting techniques between the UK and the US is night and day. We have very strict procedures on the use of BA, aka SCBA. Our sets have tallies, which go into an entry control board outside the building prior to entry, which carefully controls who and where crews are within the building. And entry control officer monitors this and liaises with the incident commander at all times. Basically, we limit the numbers going in and out at all times. We are also drilled on gas cooling techniques within a compartment fire. Short pulses on a spray setting to knock back the fire gases and eventually reach the seat of the fire. This is the preferred technique for extinguishing fires. Just wondering what your opinion is on the differences between the UK and the US. I hope you managed to use my question. Stay low and go. Kind regards, Ryan Miller, Crew Commander, Scottish Fire and Rescue.
Holy Christ.
I got to tell you, that's a mouthful.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Oh, whoa, what happened? We're on. All right,
That's a
stay low
mouthful.
and go. I'll see you at the next one, okay? What was that?
We do not have we don't use that technology as far as monitoring people going in and out. We did have a pilot program at one time that we were looking into that, but for whatever reason, the FDNY did not purchase that kind of technology. I don't know if they had a problem with who was offering it or whatever. But as far as cooling, yes, we did multiple tests on what island is that? Well, Governor's Island there, on flow paths and things like that. And we've adjusted our techniques of knocking down fires. When you go to they even when you go to the Rock now, they train you on techniques of opening and closing the line and things like that. But as far as that technology of seeing guys where they are, like on a chessboard or something like that, we don't have that.
Good job. Pete, did that guy say he actually watched the show? Because doesn't it seem like he knows what the fuck we do here? What kind of question is that?
Basically, he was comparing and contrasting techniques. You ain't
gonna watch it no more. You keep that up.
I love you.
Mamma mia.
Keep calling in from the UK. Excellent. All right.
He's
Good
from
technical
Scotland. Give him a break. All right.
right.
So, okay. This is my first time asking a question, so here it goes. Chief Steve, as a guest, motivated me to submit. I basically have two. The first is a history question, the second somewhat personal, so I understand if he doesn't want to answer. Oh, boy. Number one, since Chief Steve has been identified as a fire service history buff, he would be the one to ask. I have read before that Chief O'Hagan fought the construction of the World Trade Center for years. He did not like the construction of the outside load-bearing truss design. He obviously lost that battle with the city and the Port Authority. History has proven him correct. Is he aware of any book by Chief O'Hagan where this might be documented, or is the FD library open to outside civilians who may wish to research such a topic? Thanks in advance to a senior deputy chief. And then the second is out of personal curiosity. So first we have the Chief O'Hagan, and the other one is, did you mentor Kevin as a brother for getting on the job? Were you excited for your brother on the job? Thanks, from Matt Brinkman, and Arundel Company, or Colorado. No, I don't know. He's a firefighter.
Right,
Matt Brinkman.
Okay. The first part of your question you might be thinking about this book by Chief O'Hagan.
Oh, look at that guy.
All right.
He's well read.
There is a
Put
chapter
that closer. Put that
on
closer.
a fire that was in the World Trade Center in, I think, 1975. I haven't read that in many, many, many years, so I didn't have time to do that. So I can't tell. I think he might be right in regards to Chief O'Hagan not liking that construction. I think I've actually heard that. Chief O'Hagan was one of the smartest guys that was ever in this job. He was the chief. He was the chief of department and the commissioner at the same time, and it was only 39 years old or 35 when he became that. Super smart guy. Since passed on, but like I say, it's a good book. Way ahead of its time, by the way. When he wrote this book is from '77. There really wasn't a hell of a lot about high-rise firefighting at all. But he was, like I say, he was well ahead of his time. And this book was given to me by another chief of department, a guy my stupid brother didn't recognize when he ran into him, Pete Hayden, who was the chief of department.
That's me.
I know. No, you're the stupid brother. You're not Pete Hayden.
Right. We had another brother on the job. He wasn't too swift either, you know. I mean,
He wasn't that smart either.
So it could have been him, but yeah, I did run into him and didn't know who he was. Right.
Right. But,
All right.
He gave me that book many years ago.
Nice.
All right.
And it's now $112 on Amazon, apparently.
Beautiful. And what was the second part of that question?
You know, did you mention?
Yes, I was very happy that he came on a job.
Here it comes.
Because number one, he hated his prior job,
Right.
and so he needed a turnaround in his life. He was in between, I don't know how many marriages or whatever, and he just
Number
needed,
one,
something.
Number two. In between one and two.
Between one and two. All right.
Right.
Between one and two, and he was very excited about it. Yeah, I was happy that he came on, and he had a very not a long career, but I felt a distinguished career. He made his mark, which is the important thing. It all worked out well. I think he wished he could have stayed longer, but that's about it.
Hey, Steve, I don't know if anybody knows, but when we were kids, when we were 10, I basically used to live in Kevin's house. So their mother used to feed me all the time. I used to be there the whole summer. What was it like? I don't think I ever asked you this. What was it like when us two idiots would show up at a job, when you used to see us pull up in the squad and you just see us walk up? I mean, you had to be like, look, could you believe these two idiots? Like,
I remember these two assholes when they were kids, when they were like 12 years old, and I was putting dirty socks in their mouth.
Everybody grows up. I was an idiot kid to somebody else, so
so.
That's the way it goes. I mean, I ran into people along the job, that knew my dad and said, "Oh, how did you become a lieutenant already? How'd you, they don't realize, while they're getting older, you're growing up too. I see guys now that I work with guys now that are deputies now that were firemen that I worked, that were firemen when I was a deputy.
Right.
So, that's, everyone that lives a little while realizes that, everyone grows up and then sometimes, surpass whatever you do too.
Yep. Steve is 10 years older than me, Mr. Malone. What did you used to say to me every time you'd see me come out of a building? Do you remember?
No, what?
Oh, what are you rolling around the dirt up there again?
No.
All right, guys, we're on the home stretch of questions here.
Go.
I'm going to throw one more at you, and then one at you, and then I don't know, my dog's bugging out, so I got to go figure out what's going on there. All right, so, hey, guys, I read a book called The Brave by George Pickett. In it, he talks about how much the department put the lid down on certain activities that went on in firehouses, such as trips to the basement, allegedly. Did Chief Steve ever enforce these new rules? If so, did he meet a lot of resistance, and did he always agree with them? Thanks. Stay salty. From Steve McCrindle. Be right back, guys.
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
I thought you said be right back.
I'm going to be right back. Hold on.
Somebody's doing a forced entry in his house. He's got to go check it out.
Okay. What he's talking about, trips to the basement, that's from a period for the most part before me, but that wasn't uncommon.
No, you never saw that in your time, a trip to the basement?
No, I'm not saying I never saw it or heard of it, but I mean, it wasn't. I mean, years ago it was common. It was,
Really?
I wouldn't say it was common during my time.
Well, define common, like back in the day. What are you saying? Like every other tour?
No, well, where it was, in my entire time at the job, the amount of times somebody went into the basement, a handful that I ever heard of. But like I say, prior to me, I heard of captains that, if a trip to the basement was necessary to straighten you out, that's what the cap. And I can't picture that now at any point, something like that.
Well, definitely different time.
I had a lieutenant in 210 who took a trip to the basement with a fireman because they had a beef going on, and one guy the fireman put a mouse in the lieutenant's pocket, in his coat pocket that he brought home. So it went back and forth, and they took a trip to the basement.
Swingtown, baby.
Who wound up on the better end of that?
The lieutenant. He was a hockey player.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you knew about it. It was always talked about. I've seen it a handful of times, but like
dude, Jim Spillane's brother, the old captain of 289, Jim Spillane.
Yeah.
You remember him? Balloons.
Yeah.
He was always like a rah, like a barking kind of guy. His brother was known for his fists.
Oh yeah.
His brother was called Jocko Spillane, and he was the captain of 113 many years ago. And I never saw it, but I knew guys that worked with him that said that he was.
Jocko went to work.
Jocko went to work. I knew him as a battalion chief of the 1st Battalion, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy. His son's a battalion chief now. I think he's in the 4th.
You know what? Anybody with the name Jocko, you got to think about right away, like Jocko.
Yeah,
but
I'm saying he was the nicest man when I worked with him. Very nice man. But he said his reputation preceded him. He was supposed to be a very tough man.
Hey, Belisari keeps asking. Belisari's in the chat, by the way. He said hi. He wants to know who your mentor was. He knows who it is. He says, but you should tell him about him. I don't know who he's talking about.
Who's he going to talk about? Rabando?
I don't know.
Joe Rabando was one of my mentors.
Yeah. Cat Rabando from 138.
Cat Rabando from 138. He was a guy, one of the guys that instilled in me about being professional in the job. He was by his side trade, he was a locksmith. So he hated you destroying a door if it was unnecessary. Like if the fire was blowing out or something, we had to get the door fine. But if it was like a controlled operation, he did not want you destroying the door. He carried his own set of picks and locks and everything with him. And we had to go through the lock. With him.
Dude,
what are you laughing at? What are you looking
Kevin
at?
Malone is on fire tonight, dude. So when Belisari asked who your mentor was, he wrote Moses. Oh, he's on fire today. Kevin Malone's on fire, bro.
All right. 3 more questions, boys. Here we go. Chief Steve, did you know Kev was making a Chief Steve puppet, and what was your reaction to it along with seeing the song? And are you surprised that it's become one of the most popular segments of the podcast from the show from Will Belinsky?
I knew nothing about it. Didn't surprise me.
And someone else asked if you think it's dumb. Yeah.
Do I think it's dumb? No.
He
You
thinks
have to
I'm
know my
dumb.
little brother there.
He doesn't think the puppet's dumb. He thinks I'm dumb.
Right. No, I think it's funny. I didn't, like I say, I knew nothing about it until he was telling me, which he couldn't keep a straight face even telling me because he loves his own humor so much.
Couldn't keep.
Oh, he loves his own humor.
Holy shit! I cracked myself up. Yep.
I know.
I got to tell you though, it's weird having sang the song and put the segment together and everything like that. Honestly, it's like you're a human being, right? So it's a little weird doing something like that about someone else. And every time the puppet comes out, it's a little cringy for me. But I don't know. It's also funny, So it's all in good.
Don't bother me.
Yeah, good.
Wait till the Chief shirt comes out, baby.
Things bother you.
No.
Chief Steve shirt. Smart.
Louis knows. Louis grew up in our house. What was it like? It was like the kitchen table in a firehouse, right?
It's absolutely the firehouse.
There's some people in our family didn't get it, you know?
Yeah, even the girls. The girls would. Everybody was quick-witted. It was all
9 people, 7 kids, mom and dad around the table. It was like the goddamn firehouse kitchen table.
Your father too. He would hit you guys with.
My God.
It was constant stuff.
He was the ringleader, bro.
Yeah, it was definitely quick wit. You learned to be fast because 4 boys in there, they would chew you up, man. He was tortured. I mean, when I think back, and he was a skinny little kid, they used to torture the shit out of him.
Oh, me? He used to pay my twin sister to beat the shit out of me in the living room. No shit.
Now that was funny having a twin beat. I mean, that's pretty damn funny.
That's a true story. He used to pay her $5. Here's $5.
And fight each other.
Here's $5. Go throw your brother around the living room.
Now I don't feel so bad about the Chief Steve puppet. All right. Good evening, Pete, Kev, Lou. Question for Chief Steve. What's the oldest engine and ladder company within the city? Previous MFD, Brooklyn FD, that are still in existence today. The history y'all share on your podcast is amazing, and I love the content. Keep doing what you're doing. From Paul Mayenberg from Chaplin, Wichita Falls, Texas Fire Department.
Which is the oldest company still in existence?
Gotta be downtown somewhere, no?
Yeah.
Dwayne and Reed, who are they down there? It's one truck.
That's one truck and 7 engine on Dwayne and Reed. I'm pretty sure that in the same quarters is 26 engine. I think they're the longest in their quarters. But as far as because a lot of the companies, they morphed from other things. Like when we did the history, like 27 engine, there was something else before, and so I don't know if they got those numbers all at once when they became the Metropolitan Fire Department, and they were converted from from being volley units, and then they all at once became not you're one engine today, and you're this engine, and you're this engine, and probably a lot of them got their numbers on the same day. So which one is actually the oldest, or it's hard to say.
I'm looking at Ladder 1, just from a quick Google search, Ladder Company 1 of Manhattan.
Yeah.
It says Ladder Company 1 in Manhattan is the oldest company on the job 4 years before the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Oh. And they were called Ladder 1?
Ladder Company 1, Manhattan, FDNY. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. In 1784, the company was recognized. This company never lost their organization for a single day during the existence of the old fire department. And on the organization of the paid system, Hook and Ladder Company number 1 was created September 8, 1865, using the same location.
That's when they became Metropolitan. So that's one company that retained from being a volley. They were one as volleys, and they maintained being one as part of Metropolitan, and then they will remain one as being FDNY.
There you go. We solved the mystery.
Yeah, just on the computer.
This little
look at Pete.
Little history of the world in this little thing in my
good job, Pete.
Phone here. All right, last question from the emails, guys, and then I think this is it. Chief, as Kev's brother, what makes you more proud of him? The fact that he was a respected firefighter that progressed in his career to be a seated chauffeur at a busy sock company, or that he has made the seamless transition into making videos for other firefighters in his underpants and occasionally dressed up as a cowboy? Thanks for answering the hard-hitting questions from Gabe Fox. Thanks, Pete.
I was very proud of the firefighter. He was a tough little firefighter. He was what you'd call the kind of guy that you want to come looking for you if you're in trouble. I'm glad to see that him and Lou have done so well with their projects here, because I wouldn't just say it was Kevin. He needs a springboard there, Lou. Just like Abbott needed Costello. or Costello needed Abbott. I don't know who, but
I'll definitely have it.
And yeah, I would say so. Yeah. But like I said, both doing very well. I'm glad. They both did very well. And, like I say, little kids grow up.
Well
Nice.
said. On that note, I'm going to say the same. Couldn't be prouder of my brother. When I lost my pop, he stepped into that role and tried to emulate his career. Not the studying part. I want nothing to do with that shit.
I know.
But watching him, he and then I got to drive him, so I watched, how he operated as a chief, and couldn't be prouder.
Oh, thank you, brother.
You got it, kid. All right, what else we got? Ruffy, want to give a shout out? Oh, are we doing did you come up with the old school tip of the day?
No, I didn't think of anything.
Ah, fuck it. All right, go ahead, Ruffy. So give us shout outs.
All right. So on a more, I guess, somber situation, there was a Detroit fire department sergeant died the other day, unfortunately, in the line of duty. He saved 3 young girls from drowning. I believe he was off duty. Let me see. Yep, he was off duty Saturday around 1300 hours after. Let me see here. Yeah, he saved three young girls from drowning. Rescue crews recovered his body, unfortunately, after it went missing after he helped save the 3 girls in the Detroit River on Friday night. Despite being off duty at the time of the incident, Fire Johnson heroic sacrifice will be labeled as a line of duty death, as noted by the fire commissioner of Detroit. So,
God bless, brother.
Yep. Rest in peace.
Rest in
Rest in
peace,
peace
kid.
indeed.
What else? You got any more shout outs, Ruffy?
no, that's it. I didn't. That's all I
All
wanted
right,
to talk
so
about.
Thursday, first of all, we'd like to thank Chief Steve for coming on. Great job. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Chief.
Excellent
Oh,
job.
you're welcome.
Well done. Now get your ass out there and start filling some ATMs tomorrow. All right, good job. Thank you. So,
An idiot.
Chief Cleout said, great show, Steve. Always great working with you, brother.
there you go.
Same for him. It was one chief I never had to, if I knew Jack was giving me a report, I knew that was the story. Never had to think twice.
And you'll get in touch with him off the show to try to get him to come on the show, right? Good job. Great job. Great job.
Even if we got to pay the guy.
Right. So we got Thursday. We're doing our first road show out to Merrick, Long Island. We're going to do the Ronnie Gee show with his 3 sons and his wife. We're going to do it at Ronnie's Firehouse. There'll be plenty of food and drinks. And
Does he have 3 kids on the job?
he's got 2 kids on the job. And the one guy, I think he's a volley, the other guy. But they're ecstatic to come on. And we're going to have a good time. Should be a great show.
Basically, we're building a whole studio in the firehouse before we roll. We're going to light it and make it look good and hear some good stories and hopefully have a few laughs and a few, there'll be a few tears, I'm sure, too. So tune in.
I talked to the boys today. They're stoked. They're stoked to go. And I think, and what else you got, Ruffy?
I was just going to say, did Dan Potter drive you too, Steve?
Who?
Dan Potter? Did he drive you? He said something about driving you. I thought I saw it go by quick.
Not
No.
that I can remember.
He said
Where
he
was he
drove
from?
you once in a while down in the 4th. When you were in the 4th, he said he drove you on occasion.
Oh, okay. Down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And keep sending.
First name is Dan or Dave?
Dan Potter.
Dan?
Yeah. And keep sending in. This is not really one of the first road shows. This is just us going to their firehouse to do it because there's 4 of them. And they wouldn't fit in our podcast studio, which is not ready anyway. And it wouldn't really look good with them sitting at the desk. So we're going out to Ronnie's Firehouse. So keep sending in the applications for the road show, as that will be coming up real soon. We got a couple, Ruffy?
Yeah, we got about 6 or 7.
Excellent. So
Awesome.
that'll be next. Everybody's saying good job, Chief Steve. So take us out, Petey.
Well, I just want to do a quick shout out to our Facebook Gettin Salty fans group that hit 1K subscribers tonight. In your that has nothing to do with us, by the way. We organized none of that, but I was asked to give them a shout from Fireman as me, and it's worth it too because they have some pretty funny posts in there. So if you're a fan of the show, go check it out. But guys, if you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio or wherever great audio podcasts can be found, you should also head on over to youtube.com youtube.com/ Gettin Salty Experience, where you should take your little digit out and hit the subscribe, and share, and the notification bell. Come on, Steve.
Do it.
Okay. All right.
All right. There you go. There you go. All right. And guys, that's the best way to get us out there for things like the road show, to get us traveling and doing more segments around the country. That's what we're planning on doing, and even around the world. So subscribe, share. That helps us out a ton. Head on over also to @SaltyDogInc on Instagram.com, where you can find amazing curated photos by this man, Ruffy Raffrano, right here. This guy works hard to provide great salty firefighter images. And also you get all your last minute information on the shows, contests, all that kind of cool stuff. Guys, and then head on over, of course, to gettinsaltyapparel.com to support the show. T-shirts, hats, shot glasses, all the good things. Masks. Right? First, do it, your old ladies, anything. Oh, there you go. That's a mask right there.
So much better.
Yeah, like a ninja. And then, guys, if you have a question for us at Q&As, please email us at gettinsaltyexperience@gmail.com. And if you have a question for me personally, guys, you're also welcome to email me at gettinsaltypete@gmail.com. Thank you, guys.
All right, Pete, tell them about the top 5 show we got coming out as well. Top 5.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some stuff for when when we don't have a podcast night, when things come up. We're gonna have a couple top 5s coming up, like top 5 funniest moments, top 5 best old school tip of the days, things like that. So we're going to take our content and sort of repurpose it into cool little package stuff. I might even yap around it a little bit and just say hello and goodbye at the beginning and the end of the show. But yeah, guys, keep on looking, because we're going to keep on putting out a bunch of content, especially with this road show coming up. Dudes, that to me is going to be the best thing ever. I keep dreaming about it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you don't subscribe and share, it's just not, it just can't happen. That's it.
Challenge coins are on the way, right, Ruffy? Somebody was asking about that. This week. And the lighters are in transit right now. They should be by the end of the month or the following month, depends. And that's it. That's all I got. Chief Steve, anything you want to sign out with other than your brother's the best in the world? Thank you. Okay, what's next? So, what do you got?
I would say, brothers, be professional. You are professionals. Be professional.
I like it. Simple.
That's an old school tip if I ever heard one.
There you go. All right, fellas. Stay low and go. See you at the next one.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at the big one.
Shalom.